Welcome to the 6Ps podcast, and today our episode is looking at essay writing for Bend It Like Beckham. Let's look at the basics of essay writing. This is what we call a text response analytical essay, where we analyse a text based on a response to an essay topic. We're looking at year 8 for between 600 to 800 words approximately, and you need to explore a specific question in your essay. You also want to showcase your knowledge of the text, which is why evidence is really important. We're thinking about quotations and also film techniques, again to highlight our knowledge of the text. Let's focus on planning, and I think the first thing we do whenever it comes to an essay is to look at a question and formulate a contention by answering the question. So do you agree with the question? Do you partially agree or partially disagree? You need to have a clear opinion, a clear point of view on the question you're being asked. For example, a contention might be that Bend It Like Beckham presents a clash of cultures. You could also say the film examines a conflict between cultures as well as maybe some other conflicts or some other themes. Now, arguments are really important because each main body paragraph is going to focus on a different argument, and these are reasons to support your contention. And what I think it's really good to do if you're struggling to find arguments is to add the word because on the end of your contention. So with that first example contention, Bend It Like Beckham presents a clash of cultures, you might add the word because on the end of that. That Bend It Like Beckham presents a clash of cultures because of the differing values and beliefs of the setting against the Bamra family. Again, adding the word because on the end of a contention is one way to formulate arguments. For the second one though, the arguments are the different themes or the different conflicts. So it could be conflict of cultures, conflict between genders, conflict between friends. Again, a range of conflicts you might want to focus on if that was your contention to the essay topic. Let's think about planning out our evidence as well when it comes to our essay, because we don't want to repeat evidence. We don't want to use the same quotation twice in the same essay. And again, it's all about avoiding using examples in quotations and film techniques, because even the same characters, if we're using Jasminda in every single paragraph, it has a narrow sort of interpretation of the text. We're only really focusing on one character. We want to broaden that. You can even provide context information as evidence. So we might look at Sikhism, say, as an example, or multiculturalism in Britain in the early 2000s. Something to consider when you're planning your evidence is to consult your booklet. You've got a key scene analysis chart that we've gone through, you've got a quotation sheet, you've got a film techniques table. There are a range of resources available to assist you when it comes to planning out your evidence. Let's look at the different topics. The first one is the main conflict in the film Bend It Like Beckham is between mothers and daughters. Do you agree? The second one, that there is more to the film Bend It Like Beckham than just a clash of cultures. The third one, that Bend It Like Beckham suggests that you have to break the rules in order to achieve your dreams. And the last one, that director Gurinder Chadha's Bend It Like Beckham challenges a range of stereotypes and prejudices. Let's look at topic 1. Focus on the key words, which I think are main conflict and mothers and daughters. If you were to agree with this topic, your contention might be, well, pretty much the question that mothers and daughters are the main source of conflict in the film. Your arguments, again adding the word because on the end of your contention, well, why is this the main source of conflict? You can look at the different sort of ideas or points that they clash over. So it could be over gender expectations and stereotypes. It could be over beliefs, interests, or values. It could be on their dreams, marriage, and relationships. You want to pick 3 different ideas, 3 different aspects of the clash or reasons why they clash, and have one main body paragraph on each one. Conversely, if you wanted to disagree, you might say that mothers and daughters are not the only conflict in the film. But we don't want to totally disagree, because then we're not really answering the question. So really, rather than disagreeing, we're actually only partially agreeing by saying, okay, mothers and daughters is a conflict, but there's also a conflict between cultures. There could also be a conflict between genders, conflict between friends. Look, there's a range of other conflicts you might want to focus on, but I think for me, one of those would definitely want to be mothers and daughters, given the essay topic. Again, there's no one right way to approach a topic. There are no three arguments that the examiner or the marker wants to hear. It's really all about what you can write the best essay on. Let's look at topic 2, and I guess the main phrase or main term here is the clash of cultures. If you wanted to agree that the film is solely about a clash of cultures, it's probably a little bit more challenging. And you talk about the different sort of ways that there's a clash of cultures. So it's a racism, it's a gender expectations, and it's the aspirations and dreams. These are the sort of clashes within the Sikh culture, I guess, to an extent. And we're probably a little bit narrow here because we're limited to talking about the Bamra family, really, I guess. You're talking about Jess, Pinky, and Mr. and Mrs. Bamra. On the other hand, disagreeing with this topic or even partially agreeing with this topic means that you can talk about a clash of cultures, but you could potentially talk about other themes as well. So you might talk about it's also about the importance of family as your main body 2. For your main body 3, it might be about football, it might be about dreams, it might be about gender, overcoming adversity, friendship. There are a range of other ideas you could sort of focus on. And actually with this topic, it really is up to you what you want to sort of talk about, apart from a clash of cultures, if we were to partially agree. Again, we do need to mention culture clash because it is in the topic. So one of our main body paragraphs really does need to focus on that idea. Topic 3, we're talking about breaking the rules and achieving dreams. Two-part question. I would probably look to agree with this and say that the film does suggest you have to break the rules in order to achieve your dreams. And the rules you could break are, cultural expectations for one idea. A second idea or argument could be on gender norms. And the third one could be on family expectations. These topics open you up to talking about sort of Jess and Jules, and even Pinky to an extent as well. If you wanted to disagree and say, actually, it suggests you should sort of stick to the rules, you shouldn't break rules, it's probably a little bit trickier. You could probably look at a character like Pinky that conforms to an extent to the family expectations of getting married and so forth. But again, even she breaks the rules. And I'm thinking about that quote where her mother, Mrs. Bamra, says, "Don't think I didn't know you were sneaking out with that good for nothing T2." Again, a bit difficult to disagree with this topic. So perhaps agreeing might be the best way to go about topic number 3. And for topic 4, we're looking at challenges and we're looking at stereotypes and prejudices. And if you were to agree with this, you're looking at the different prejudices and stereotypes. And these could be around things like religion, family, or culture, could be about gender, could be about sexuality, it could be about racism. There are a range of things that you could talk about and the different stereotypes and prejudices that exist within the film, and how Gurinder Chadha really does challenge and condemn these stereotypes, particularly through characters like Mrs. Paxton. If you would agree that, I guess you'd say that it promotes stereotypes and prejudices, again, that's pretty difficult to do. You could look at, a character like Mr. Bamra to highlight how he definitely experienced prejudice and racism, but it's through his daughter that he sort of is able to overcome this, and he definitely supports his daughter. So again, another topic where it's really difficult to disagree with, and perhaps agreeing is the best course of action. Once you've picked your topic and you've got your contention, it's time to write our introduction. And this is really a summative paragraph where you introduce the text, often through a brief plot description or even some context information. You definitely want to state your contention and have your answer to the topic, and you want to outline your arguments, ideas or reasons in a sort of a logical order. I've wrote the written expression. It's really important that you are fluent with the way that you write your introduction. You want to make sure that what you're saying is in a logical and sequential order. And we don't want to add in any examples or quotations. We don't need to do that. We want to save that for a main body paragraph when we really want to flesh out our ideas and showcase our knowledge of the text. This is a bit of a template for your introduction, and I think sentence 1, the focus is really on introducing the film, the director, the title, and maybe the plot description as well. You should also state your contention. You want to do that pretty early. And then sentence 3 plus is to outline your arguments. So for some of you, one of your arguments might be part of your contention, and so you might list the other 2 arguments in sentence 3. You might list 3 arguments in one sentence, or you might want to have one sentence for each idea or each argument. Again, it's really important that we don't want to bring in any evidence or examples or quotations. We're merely stating what our 3 main body paragraphs are going to be about. And if you really want to at the end, as a final sentence, it's a bit optional, You might want to comment on the main message of the film and what the director is endorsing based on the essay topic that you have selected. Here is an example of a mid-range introduction. I'll give you a chance to pause it now to read through it, and then I'll run through my analysis after it. So with example 1, this is mid-range. Gurinder Chadha's film Bend It Like Beckham traces the story of Jasminda Bamra, who holds dreams of playing soccer professionally. She goes against her mother's wishes, and therefore the main conflict in the film is between mothers and daughters. This is due to their differing views on gender, dreams, and culture. Therefore, the text places great value of the clash between mothers and daughters. So, a couple of things. First thing, they have responded to the topic. They've got a clear contention that the main conflict in the film is between mothers and daughters. They've also outlined their 3 arguments or 3 ideas, which are gender, dreams, and culture. Now, while I've ticked all the boxes with this, I definitely think there is room for improvement. I'd look to maybe expand on each idea in a little bit more detail. Again, avoiding examples, but perhaps talking about what is it about gender, dreams, and culture that causes a clash between mothers and daughters. There's also a few expression issues like spelling and proofreading that would be needed. So, words like daughters is spelled incorrectly, and there's a couple of sort of typos there as well. So again, making sure we're proofreading and ensuring that our introduction is fluent. Here is example 2. This is for a high range. Again, it's for topic 1. I'll give you a moment to read it, so pause here, and then I'll run through my annotations. So with example 2, it starts with the sentence, Gurinder Chadha's film Bend It Like Beckham, set in multicultural East London, should actually be West London, traces the story of young women striving to overcome conservative and traditional expectations in order to fulfill their dreams. At the heart of the film is strong conflict between mothers and daughters based on differing values and aspirations. However, the film does not solely focus on this as the only clash. Chadha examines the conflict between cultures and genders and the impact this places on the younger generations. Ultimately, the text does not simply focus on the intergenerational clashes between mothers and daughters. The vocab, you'll notice, is a lot stronger here as well. They're using much more sophisticated vocab. There are still a couple of spelling errors, including Gurinder Chadha's name the second time it is mentioned. But they have a clear contention that, yes, there is conflict between mothers and daughters, but it's not the only clash in the film. And they too will talk about culture and genders. Just visually, it is also a little bit longer as well. So something to keep your eye on with the introduction. We're sort of looking for around the 100 words or so with that paragraph. All right, let's look at main body paragraphs. This is, I guess, the area where we really want to flex our muscle and show off to the markers. We've got teal here, and again, teal can vary between being, 2 E's to being, in this case, we've sort of got 5 E's. It is sort of up to how you want to go about it, and you can sort of do it in any order, really. The main thing for me is your topic sentence really needs to outline the main idea. So, for example, your topic sentence might start by saying the film explores, or the text examines, or the director depicts, or Bend It Like Beckham presents. Mention the film, mention a verb, and outline your idea and link it, make it relevant to the essay topic. There should be some reference to the essay topic in your topic sentence. If you want to, you can expand on your topic sentence before leading into your evidence, which should be quotation, and we should have at least 1 quotation in each main body paragraph. And I would be definitely looking to include at least 1 film technique in my essay, or really probably 1 film technique per main body paragraph. Make sure you explain your evidence as well. Every time you bring up an example, whether it's a character, a scene, a quote, make sure you explore what it highlights, what it showcases, what it underlines about the paragraph topic and also about the essay topic as well. We need to explain and analyze our examples. Now, for me at year 8, I would be looking for at least 2 examples or 2 pieces of evidence per main body paragraph. Something to think about, particularly if you're aiming for an above or well above the standard. And our linking sentence is pretty straightforward because we need to link our topic of our paragraph back to the overarching essay topic. And this is something you need to do to make sure you are always answering the question, that you're not going off on a different tangent, that you're always focusing on the essay question. Let's have a look at sample 1. This is a mid to high range for topic 2. Once again, I'll give you a moment to pause, read the paragraph, and then I'll run through my annotations. So with topic 2, there's, I guess, a clear idea. So Bend It Like Beckham depicts conformities such as achieving your dreams. Look, for me, the word conformities doesn't quite work. I think they've tried to use more sophisticated vocab, but again, it doesn't quite work in this case. I think, depicts the importance of achieving your dreams. We've got a quotation in the middle there. When are you going to realise you have a daughter with breasts and not a son? They've used square brackets to effectively embed that quotation, and same with the second quotation as well, that the bloody English cricket players threw him out of their club like a dog. He never complained. On the contrary, he vowed never to play again. We also have, I guess, a film technique or a symbol or a motif at the very end. That Chadha employs planes as a motif in the film to symbolise the close proximity of Jess and Jules' ambition, a football scholarship overseas. The word symbolised there is an explanation verb and shows they're explaining the example. In this case, it's planes. For me, though, there's not a whole heap of analysis. We really want to make sure we are analysing rather than summarising, so avoid too much plot retell. Obviously, we definitely need to summarise the film and outline scenes and examples as part of our evidence, but we want to make sure we're analysing that. And that's probably why this would fail to reach the high range, given there is more summary than analysis and explanation. Topic 2, or example 2, I should say, the paragraph is a little bit better. So this would be in the high range. Once again, I'll give you a moment to pause and I'll run through my annotations afterwards. So let's read through this main body paragraph. I have bolded the idea. I've underlined the verbs, which I think are really important, and I've put in blue the quotations, but I'll read it all out. Gurinder Chadha explores female independence against the backdrop of gender stereotypes. As a result, characters are able to break free from the restrictive norms placed upon them and achieve their dreams. Jasminda is a strong character who stands up for her beliefs and values. Her courage and conviction is depicted when she confronts her parents after being given a scholarship, stating, "If I can't tell you what I want now, then I'll never be happy." This highlights Jasminda's ability to voice her own beliefs and values against her traditional parents, even though they would prefer her to maintain strong connections to her culture and follow a traditional pathway like her sister, where women are valued based on their domestic skills. Furthermore, Jules also fights against her mother's traditional views on femininity and suggests just because she wears trackies and plays sport does not make her a lesbian. Paula's continual fear regarding her daughter's sexuality reinforces the conservative and archaic beliefs forced upon young women in the early 2000s. Chadha employs costuming to illustrate the differing views on the way to the grand final, with Jules dressed in a tracksuit and Paula wearing a bright formal dress and hat. Therefore, the characters courageously break away from traditional gender stereotypes in order to achieve or pursue her dreams, or their dreams. Bit of a typo there at the end, actually, which stands out a little bit. Can I just suggest the first thing here, they've got 2 pieces of evidence and 2 quotations and a film technique as well. And notice how after every single example, they have an analytical verb there. They are underlined and in orange, and that's really, really important. Their topic sentence is really clear. It's relevant to the topic and it expresses their ideas about female independence against gender stereotypes. And you'll notice at the very end, their linking sentence is very similar to their topic sentence, and that's probably about right. You want to make sure you're always responding to the essay topic given to you. Good time to look at topic sentence verbs. And again, your topic sentence outlines your ideas and you want to be really broad with these. So I really like the 3 verbs: explores, examines, and actually one that's not there, which is presents. I love those 3 verbs. They work really, really, really well. And we've already looked in class about writing topic sentences and how important they are. Again, there's some others there that you might want to use. This is a list, and it's by no means a comprehensive list, but a list of around 25 explanation verbs that you might want to use in your essay. And these often go in place of the verb shows. I think shows is very simplistic and a very basic verb, and I think this is an area that we can word up in. So for me, I love the verbs highlights, illustrates, even elucidates is a verb that I really like to use in my essay, but highlights and illustrates always seem to get a run in essays that I sort of write. But again, use your drafting process to experiment with some of these verbs. And again, I can't stress the importance of always explaining and analysing every piece of evidence you use in relation to your paragraph topic and essay topic as well. Now, we're going to go a bit negative now and look at banned terms or words that I really don't want you to use in your essay. And the first sort of four are I, my, us, and we. These are first person words, and we want to avoid using first person in our essay because it's a bit too informal. We want to maintain third person, and in all the sample paragraphs we've looked at in today's video, there is no use of first person. So avoid the I think that, or I believe that, or we see. No, you need to use third person. Often, instead of we, you can use the audience. And instead of my, or I think, or my opinion is, just get rid of that phrase and the sentence will still make sense. Avoid the word essay. It's too explicit. Avoid the word theme if you can as well. Look, it's not terrible, but I always think there are better words to say other than theme. Idea, aspect, same deal with thing. Thing's a very simplistic and basic word. So look for synonyms to use instead of thing. The same deal I would say with the terms good and bad. They are really basic and often we can use more sophisticated vocab. So instead of good, we might say optimistic or hopeful. And instead of bad, we might say challenging or difficult, or even pessimistic. Again, we want to look to word up where possible. Just like essay, I don't like the word contention. I don't think that's a really great word to use. It's too explicit. We don't want to tell the marker that we're writing an essay with a contention. We just want to respond to the topic. Avoid the word quote. The word should be sort of quotation if we're going to use one, but again, not necessarily needed. Avoid using contractions like doesn't and can't. Use the full word, so does not and cannot, because we are writing and we want to use our formal tone. And avoid asking questions, because for me, essays are about answering questions and not asking them. So please be mindful of that. Let's talk about conclusions, which we really like because they are the shortest paragraph that you will write. And all you need to do is restate your contention and your arguments. You should not add any additional information to your conclusion. And in fact, I like to avoid the word in conclusion and instead I like the term ultimately. And here's an example below of a conclusion. Ultimately, Gurinder Chadha's Bend It Like Beckham condemns the perpetuation of traditional and outdated stereotypes. Through the exploration of culture, gender and values, the film presents hope for young women through an optimistic ending as the protagonist achieves their dreams, having overcome a range of challenges. Again, this is the essay question about stereotypes and prejudices, and they've got their three ideas: culture, gender and values, and a bit of authorial intent at the end. The film presents hope for young women. So when it comes to formal writing, there's a couple of rules, and I've already touched on a couple of these, but they're worth stressing again because they're really important. And the first one is to write in third person. So avoid I, my, and we, but we've already been through that. Avoid judgments. So, we want to analyze the text, not evaluate the text. So avoid saying Gurinder Chadha excellently uses film techniques, or a really great part of the film is this. No, we want to avoid that. We're simply analysing. Use active voice, not passive voice. So a phrase like Jasminder's experiences is active and the experiences of Jasminder is more passive. So use active voice. Embed your quotations. A sentence shouldn't just be a quotation. That's not a complete sentence. So make sure you are embedding these within your sentences. Your sentences should make grammatical sense if you remove the quotation marks, essentially. And that means sometimes we need to use brackets to add or tweak words, and you're even using an ellipsis to remove a word or two. Avoid slang terms or using cliches or contractions, and write out numbers 1 to 100. All right, here are some final tips. Continuously draft and edit your work, and seek feedback from your teacher as often as possible. Even your peers are really useful too. Something I think is really important is sometimes I find it really difficult to read off a screen or pick up mistakes from a screen. So often what I will do is I will print out my work in order to ensure my essay is making sense. You want to consider using synonyms and reworking sentence structures to make sure you don't sound too repetitive. So quite often students will start their analytical sentences by saying, this shows, this shows, this shows. It's repetitive and it's bland. We want to sound more complex and sophisticated. Again, that links into the last point, which is take risks with your vocabulary. And the last tip, which is the third one here, is don't just limit yourself to using Jasminda as evidence. Showcase a wide range of characters to demonstrate more detailed textual knowledge. So thinking about characters like the parents, like Jules, and like Pinky and Tony as well, those secondary characters are really important to showcase your knowledge of the text. But that's all from me today. All the best with your essays. And if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch at 6pspodcast@gmail.com.